Hello and welcome to this special show on Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya, and here we take a stock of all the developments with respect to India's fight against COVID-19. Now, there's been a lot of talk about vaccine development, and there are several vaccine candidates on which work is going on. The Drug Controller General of India, that is DCGI, has given approval to a set of vaccine candidates, and one of them is ZyCoV-D, which is being developed by Zydus Cadila. Now, today we're going to talk about this particular vaccine, how it has been developed, in which stage is it right now, and how much time will it take for this vaccine to reach the masses as well. So let me begin the show, and let me start by introducing the guests first. We have with us Mr. Pankaj Patel. He is the chairman of Zydus Cadila, the company which has developed this particular vaccine candidate. We also have with us Professor Y.K. Gupta. He is a well-known pharmacologist, and he was also the head of pharmacology department in All India Institute of Medical Sciences. We also have with us Dr. Shahid Zamil, a well-known virologist and CEO of Wellcome Trust DBT India Alliance. Welcome all of you gentlemen to Rajya Sabha TV. Let me begin with you, Mr. Patel, and let's start by knowing a bit more about ZyCoV-D.
So this vaccine development came into our mind when we saw this crisis of COVID coming into the world. So somewhere in early March, we started our work on development of this COVID vaccine. So this is the DNA vaccine, and we have basically taken 4 different epitopes from the virus and cloned them into E. coli. We looked at expressing the antigen and then saw the 4 different antigen, 4 different expression from 4 different cloning which we had done. We found the right clone which could give us a good immunogenicity and also good productivity. And then based on that, we developed this vaccine. Once the vaccine was developed, we tested this into 4 different animal species and tested them for basically for immune response, antibody production. Subsequently, this sera of this animal were tested for virus neutralization test, and we found that the antibody was working against the coronavirus. We also then did a toxicity study, a 28 days repeat dose, multiple dose study in 2 different animal species, and completed all the preclinical data for submission to the Drug Control General in India for starting the clinical trial. And after evaluation, we recently received the permission from them to move forward and start the phase 1/2 adaptive clinical trial. We are now getting ready to start the clinical trial soon. Typically, the phase 1 and 2, we will be exposing over 1,000 persons in the clinical phase, and that will give us both data on the immunogenicity, the antibody titers, the ability to the antibody to neutralize the virus, and will also give us the safety signal. Based on this data, the Data Safety Committee will review that. Also, the regulator will review that. And based on that, we will decide to move into phase 3 if at that stage. Typically, we expect that the phase 1/2 should be completed within 3 months from now. Okay. So that's where we are today. We are still at just beginning our clinical study. We will have to see the clinical results. And as we move forward in clinical trial and find the clinical result, we will be able to tell more. At this moment, because of the animal data, we are highly encouraged to move into clinical phase.
Okay, so animal trials have been, highly successful, as you're pointing out, and we'll have to wait for at least 3 months before these 2 phases of human clinical trials are over, before we get to know as to the potency of this particular vaccine candidate. Let me now bring in Dr. Shahid Zamil here and Professor Y.K. Gupta as well. Dr. Zamil, you first on this particular vaccine and the details which have been shared by Mr. Patel here in terms of how this was developed and the way it has moved ahead.
Well, first of all, I would like to use this medium to congratulate Mr. Patel and Zydus Cadila for this very important and useful development. DNA vaccines, I will give you the pros and cons. The pro is that DNA vaccines are relatively simpler to make, and they are more stable than a protein vaccine or an RNA vaccine. The, the biggest con is that so far there is not a single DNA vaccine that has been approved for human use. So that will be a challenge, I think, going forward. But in a way, I guess Zydus Cadila will be a trailblazer in this, and we wish them all the luck.
Okay. Okay. Professor Gupta, your views on that? Initial views on ZyCoV-D?
I think this is a very encouraging to see that DCGI has given approval for phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trial for 2 Indian pharmaceuticals. One is ICMR and Bharat Biotech, and other one is Zydus, ZyCoV-D. And India has been supplying the vaccines almost 60% to UNICEF and entire world. And this is the strength of the country. As far as the COVID-19 is concerned, we are looking for a vaccine which will be effective against the COVID-19, as well as which should have a possibility, or the platform should have a potential that if there is a mutation takes place, it should also take care of. The animal toxicity, as Pankaj Bhai has mentioned, has been done in both the cases, and there has been no safety concern. The multiple species have shown that this is safe, well tolerated, and immunogenic. And further development has to be seen. And the most important thing, particularly in Indian context, would be that we have to take care of its transportation, its formation to meet the entire country, and therefore maybe multiple companies coming together is a synergy approach. It has to be heat stable, because cold chain is sometimes a problem, and of course the clinical trial with the strong DSMB will ensure safety and the efficacy, and the entire world and the entire population of the country is looking for these vaccines to be available as fast as possible. The Indian Council of Medical Research has also made all possible effort to reduce all possible hurdles so that the trials can be as smooth, as faster as possible.
Okay. Mr. Patel, let's bring in the point which has been raised by Dr. Zamil here with regards to specifically DNA vaccine. So how big a challenge you believe will it be from here onwards? All factors must have been considered by you and your team there.
So first of all, thank you very much, Professor Zamil, for congratulating me and Dr. Gupta also. I think it's true that there is not a single DNA vaccine yet approved in the world. However, if you look at the WHO guidelines and also the US FDA guidelines, they have been clearly stated in their guidelines that DNA vaccines are safe. Because what happened is earlier time, when the SARS virus was here and the MERS virus was here, the DNA vaccines were developed, and then DNA vaccine was then moved up to phase 2. Fortunately for all of us, these problem went away, and that's why it never reached to a stage where we had a full-fledged vaccine. So given that there is a reasonable data available in public domain by different researchers across the world of use of DNA vaccine, the DNA vaccine has 2 advantages. First is it is stable. It is stable, so it can be transported very easily, particularly in a country like India, number 1. Number 2, it doesn't use adjuvant. So as a result, typical problem which people get because of pain after the injections and things like that would be definitely much lower. The third is, and very important, which Professor Gupta raised the issue, is about the virus getting mutated. Since this is a recombinant vaccine, and once the platform is established, if there are tomorrow going to be a mutation of the virus, we should be able to move very quickly to bring in a follow-on vaccine in a very, very short period. Because that typically happens into a virus vaccine. For example, in flu, every year the flu virus keep on changing, and we produce flu vaccine in India, and every year we have a different flu strain because of the fact that the virus has mutated, and we always bring out newer vaccine every year with that, because the platform is established, safety is established. Now what you need is certain data to be generated to have the vaccine on the market, which is a global practice. And I think if that is, I hope the mutation problem do not come, but if that come, we believe that we have capability to do so. The last point which I see as an advantage is this is produced in a normal vaccine manufacturing facility. So we do not require a BSA class 3 facility to produce this vaccine. So more than one companies in India and outside India can produce the vaccine. And finally, some of the vaccines which are currently in the world in an advanced stage of clinical development are also DNA vaccine. So by the time our vaccine reaches to that stage, there will be global data available about whether the DNA vaccine should be used or not used.
Okay.
So I think that broadly.
Dr. Zamil, your views on that in terms of DNA vaccine aspect, which you were talking about earlier. Mr. Patel seems to have clarified there, and also the fact that there is a lot of work which has been done on DNA vaccines earlier also.
No, I agree with him, and I must qualify my earlier statement to say that while there are no approvals for DNA vaccines in humans, DNA vaccines have been approved for animal use, for veterinary use. So there is definitely experience of that. Since there is very little published on the COVID DNA vaccine so far, there are obviously questions as far as how long the immune response will last, what is the strength of the immune response. And I think those are questions that will be there for any vaccine at this point. And, we will look forward to good data on this. And as Pankaj Bhai just said, there are other vaccines. For example, the Inovio vaccine, I think, is the one that has moved into phase 2 already in US. So there will be global data, and we'll look forward to good news and good data from here as well.
Okay, definitely. It'll be all based on the data, and the data will come in as and when the phases of human trials proceed. Let me bring you again, Mr. Patel, and this time on the aspect which Professor Gupta also pointed out in his initial comment, and all of us know that India has now emerged as one of a significant vaccine manufacturing hubs, and your company is at the cornerstone of it. In fact, we saw during swine flu pandemic as well in way back in 2010 that your company came up with a particular vaccine. So how easy or how difficult it is with the vaccine manufacturing ecosystem in India here?
So I think very important, I think Professor Gupta just mentioned that India supplies to UNICEF and the world more than 60% of the global requirement of the vaccine. So I think over a period, there are a number of manufacturers of vaccine in India who have capability to produce vaccine. We have the capacity, plants, and trained manpower to produce vaccine. We also understand the vaccine science very well. Both our regulators know it very well, and also the industry knows very well. So I think India is poised to be making vaccines, and I think that's what ultimately is going to happen. It's not only that maybe there is another vaccine which might be great vaccine and that could be approved, but it will ultimately come to India for production, because the fact is the capacity to produce lies in India, and that's why India has a very important role to play as far as COVID vaccine is concerned.
Okay. One important aspect here, Dr. Zamil, since you spoke about the basic questions which everybody will be looking for answers to, is how long will the effect of the vaccine will be? So what's the ideal timeline which we might be looking at here in terms of vaccine candidates which are being developed vis-a-vis their effects?
Well, vaccines have to be tested for at least, they should show immunogenicity, they should show neutralizing ability for at least a few months, if not years, but it's very hard to predict at this stage. If you even look at other vaccines that have been licensed, some vaccines you give it once in the lifetime, you get lifelong immunity. For others, you need a booster every 5 years. Some, like the flu vaccine, you have to take a flu shot every year. So it's very hard to predict, and it's really not a science that we understand very well. So it has to be done. And if I may say so, in COVID, we are seeing something very strange happening. That people who are asymptomatic and people who show very mild infection uh, produce very poor quality antibodies. Only people who get severe disease produce strong antibodies. And even in those people, we don't yet know how long those antibodies will last, because many people are losing track of the fact that this disease is only a 6-month-old disease. We don't really have enough time to really follow people, even those who are getting very sick. So all these are areas that are very quickly developing, and we must keep an eye on them and hope for the best.
Okay. Professor Gupta, your views on that aspect?
I think what you asked is a fundamental three things which I put it for vaccine. Number one is efficacy of a vaccine. And as Dr. Zamil has mentioned, efficacy, you said what can be the ideal. I would say ideal would be lifelong, which is very difficult to see. And we can never predict so easily that what would be whether it will last for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. That can only be assessed when you do a study, and then when you see a challenge, and then you see the titer. The titer should be such which can neutralize the antigen when there is, and therefore the memory of immune system is an important issue here, and that will be very difficult to forecast this. But we believe that this should have a reasonable memory, and that should be at least 3 to 6 months, or maybe a year would be better. Okay. The important thing is the second important thing is the safety, and safety has been demonstrated in all these species. In fact, both the vaccines which have been approved for phase 1 and phase 2 have been safe. But DSMB is important structure in the entire clinical trial, which will see that what is the safety during trial and post-marketing. Very strong follow-up would be important. The third thing, safety, efficacy, and applicability in the public health system. That is, whether we will be able to manufacture sufficient amount of vaccine to meet the entire population. And therefore, I said it may be a consortium of 2 or 3 or more manufacturers who can produce the different vaccines, and that will meet the need of the country and maybe even the outside country. When you say the second part in the public health system is the transportation or the storage, the ease is an important issue, because if there is a thermal breakup or the cold chain breaks, which may happen sometimes, the vaccine which has a temperature stability or thermostable would score better.
Okay. Mr. Patel, your views on the safety and efficacy part, specifically with respect to ZyCoV-D. Obviously, in terms of efficacy or how long will it be effective, we'll get to know after the trials are over. But in terms of expectations, based on the data which your company or your team already has?
See, I think it's very difficult to predict. So I don't think it will be appropriate for anyone to comment on how long the efficacy will be there unless we have done a human study. So the question would be very clear. We will have to give the vaccine, and we will have to actually do a follow-up post-vaccine to make sure that at least there is a reasonable period of time for which there is protection provided by the vaccine. And I don't think before that there is no need to have a vaccine, because you don't want a vaccine which you give, and after 1 month again you have to give again, and after 1 month you have to give again. You cannot take 12 doses of vaccine in a year. Ultimately it has to be preferably long, but at least minimum 6 months to 1 year required to see that whether the vaccine at least provide that kind of protection. Otherwise, it will not serve any purpose of prevention, because ultimately vaccine is required for prevention. And for prevention, it is going to be very important that we have a reasonably long safety and efficacy data available. And that's why we need to do phase 2, phase 1, phase 2, and thereafter phase 3 study, follow up the people who are recruited in this study and measure and find out what actually happens, and that will tell us that. So I think it is very early for us to really start building castles, actually, in my opinion. My opinion is we are all moving on a scientific path, and we'll follow, and we will only do the right science, which is good for the people of India and the world.
Okay, Mr. Patel, just one more question before we bring this to an end, and that is that your company is involved in development of several other vaccine candidates as well globally. So any update on those vaccine candidates also?
So these are all early stage. Still, we cannot comment on that till we have data. So it is also another approach for developing a vaccine, and with the hope that it could be a long-term vaccine, but it's still early stage. So once we have reached to a particular stage, it will be right for me to talk about it. Today, we have limited scientific data, and I would not like to claim anything on that basis.
Okay. Let's conclude the show with the final comments from Dr. Zamil here. Dr. Zamil, how would you sum up the journey so far in terms of the development of vaccine candidates? Because we are in a race against time in this particular case, the COVID-19 pandemic, and obviously all stakeholders involved here are doing their job perfectly well. But where are we right now? How would you place us?
Let me first say that COVID vaccine development is something that this world has never seen before. At this time, we have 140 different fairly serious vaccine candidates all the way from preclinical to phase 3. About 17 or 20 are in human trials. Never in the history of humankind you have had this situation where within 6 months of a new disease emerging, you have this. So it's really a celebration of science and technology that this has happened. Let me very briefly address one point that Pankaj Bhai just talked about, and that is the efficacy. So let's say that there is his vaccine or any other vaccine shows 50% efficacy at 6 months and maybe 30% efficacy at 1 year. Is it not going to be a useful vaccine? I think in my view, it will be a useful vaccine because we are in a pandemic situation and anything that can reduce load is useful. So we should not look for a magic bullet that will simply provide sterilizing long-term immunity. We will get what we can get at this time. The situation is like that. Okay. So all the best to him, his company, and to everyone else who's making vaccines.
Well, indeed, definitely wonderful work being done by the team at Zydus Cadila and other companies as well who are involved in vaccine development. Thank you so much, Mr. Pankaj Patel, Dr. Shahid Zamil, and Professor Y.K. Gupta for sharing your views with us. So this is all about the vaccine development, specifically ZyCoV-D against COVID-19. The development so far has moved into human trial, clinical trial stage, phase 1 and phase 2, which, as Mr. Patel pointed out, will take at least 3 months. And after that, there will be phase 3 as well, when we'll get to know whether or not this particular vaccine candidate is effective and how effective in terms of timeline as well. We'll keep bringing you all the details with respect to developments on COVID-19 and India's fight against this pandemic. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.